Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our first half of our South Florida Tribune YouTube channel doubleheader. We're glad to have everybody here, and tonight, we're gonna do what we always do: give you a lot of information, and hopefully you can process it the best way you can have it. So I'm proud to be joined by Candy Ebling, who's just fresh off of Chicks and Salsa. Welcome back, Candy.
Thanks, Scott, for having me.
And Eric Katz, all clean and dapper. Look at this guy. Isn't it amazing what a little bit of love with, the old solid shirt is all about? I'm wearing orange. This guy's wearing black if I'm not colorblind. Welcome back, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And Mr. Opinion, Rick Curdy. Welcome back
Thanks, Scott.
to the show we created and have been working very, very hard to do it. Mr. Opinion is Mr. Opinion, and we know that he's done a really great job with us over the years, but I make no bones about it. This guy knows baseball more than any of them, which is why his name is on it anyway. So, and last but not least, George Eichhorn's in this thing for a doubleheader with me tonight. Welcome back, Mr. Eichhorn.
It's good to see everybody. You can call me George, Scott.
Mr. Eichhorn. No, I like to call you sir. Okay, that's the thing that drove me nuts. I also want to incorporate a new policy tonight that takes place immediately. For those individuals that communicate with us in the chat room, feel free to let us know, and the longer you stay with it, we'll bring you on as a guest as well. I want to get more interaction from a lot of people. Will Vogel's always comes on whenever we get a chance anyways. But there are other people. So if you're joining us, this is your opportunity to participate in the chat room. I'll take your name down and then you can come on a future edition of these shows. So something I just wanted to make sure that we put out there immediately. And tonight's topic is about the most trending one on the planet. The Las Vegas A's are a reality. We'll play at Las Vegas Ballpark. The new stadium will be ready in 2027. And the $500,000 relocation fee was waived because that's how bad Rob Manfred wanted to get this deal done in Las Vegas. So with that said, okay, the star of tonight's show is Rick Curdy. Give us your take on the Las Vegas A's.
It's about time. I've been reporting this for 5-7 years. Been telling everybody this. They all thought I was an idiot. Like, no, they would never put a team in Las Vegas. All the gambling. Well, guess what? There's gambling everywhere. And gambling is a billion-dollar corporation, and you got it in Las Vegas, which is the gambling capital of the world. It makes so much sense. I lived in Las Vegas for 5 years. I can tell you they can support it. A lot of transplants, people moving there like crazy. It's one of the fastest growing cities. They support their Golden Knights. Their WNBA team won a championship. The Raiders are there. They got a beautiful stadium there next to the airport. And now finally, and I feel sorry for the people of Oakland, but your city let you down for the third time. And now you lost your baseball team, and they are coming to Sin City, Las Vegas. And that is the first domino to fall. Now we got to see what happens with Tampa Bay, and they'll expand. But right now, the A's are moving to Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yeah, how about that? The A's joining the Aces, the Las Vegas Aces. A little bit of synergy there, right, Eric Katz?
Mm-hmm.
So
very marketable, very entertaining.
Right. So, what's your take on the Las Vegas A's, Eric?
Well, I'm shocked that John Fisher just didn't pull a Robert Irsay and move in the middle of the night. But no, I mean, number one, yeah, for a while Las Vegas was a little bit taboo to sports teams, particularly baseball, but they figured out real quick that, man, there's a lot of revenue on that table to be had in this gambling operation. You think MLB is going to be saying no to money? I don't think so. And now they got people even broadcasting the odds on TV, something that heck they wouldn't even let Jimmy the Greek do back in the day. But overall, I'm not surprised that it happened. They've been talking about sports teams have proven to be very successful in Las Vegas. Let's take the Golden Knights and their WNBA team did win a championship. And also, a lot of people are moving there, and a lot of people are, trying to live out the rest of their lives there. And overall, I like the move. Also, their minor league baseball team, I believe the Aviators, were one of the top drawing teams in all of organized baseball. Not just whatever level of ball they play, which I think is AAA, but organized minor league baseball, period. they were a top draw, and there's no reason why it can't be successful. After all, they are eating it. MLB is eating up the whole gambling thing like no tomorrow.
Yeah, you know what? I want to put Will Vogel's comment on there. I think Rick, you probably mentioned it a lot on social media, but can you read? Oh, actually, Rick, you read this comment. Go ahead, Rick.
I hate seeing A's leaving. They used to be so good. They left because their attendance was horrific. Vegas is a good location that will bring in a lot of people. Yep.
All right. So with that said, Rick, letting you read it now, you can tell us what probably people already know about how futile their attendance are. I know we talked about it last week, but
I mean, their stadium was terrible, and what made it even more terrible was when the Raiders went there. They kept adding it on, and so it's like a 75,000 seat stadium, but only 5,000 people would show up. So it looked like there was like 10 people there. It reminded me of Municipal Stadium with the Indians when they were so bad, and that's where the Browns used to play. And it would have like 5,000 there, and it looked like 2 people were there. It was painful to watch it on TV when I see the Angels play there. So, it's just sad. It's dire. The fans already knew. They stopped showing up. The president of the A's kept going back and forth to Las Vegas to find land there. So, I mean, it was just inevitable that this was going to happen, and now it's a reality. So, but yeah, I think there's like 13 other minor league baseball teams that had a better attendance than the A's, and Charlotte Knights is one of them. So it's very, very sad.
George.
Philadelphia, Kansas City, Oakland, now Vegas. One of the few franchises I've ever heard of with 4 different cities in their history. All that being said, the Oakland officials have their heads buried in the sand. They were given plenty of opportunities to help save this franchise. And I'm not just saying that a new stadium will automatically bring in new fans, as we know it doesn't happen that way. Look at what Miami has struggled with, even with their new park. But the fact of the matter is it's a reality, folks. You can bitch and complain all you want about funds from the city taxpayers not going to stadiums, but it is a reality. We had a guy in Detroit that broke that reality named William Davidson. He built his own arena, the Palace, but that's a rarity. Mike Ilitch, William Clay Ford, they all had their hands out. Tom Monahan, they had their hands out for a hand-me-out. And actually, as people complain about it, but it's a matter of fact that that's the way it usually works when new stadiums are built. Again, I'm telling you, Bill Davidson, there are a few exceptions to the rule. But Oakland's had plenty of chances, like you said, Rick, many times on this show, and Eric too, that, they were given the opportunity and they just kept their hands. They kept their hands to themselves. They didn't want to help out. And now panic has set in. Well, sorry, folks. It's too late now. Now you've lost another team. And it's sad because, there's no fun in Oakland without any sports. Okay, they got a soccer team. But Vegas is really building that sports empire.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say to add to this after I turn over to Candy Ebling, because she's been patiently waiting to talk about it. Go ahead, Candy.
Thought you were going to say something.
No, I decided to defer to you because I want to let you go ahead because you're always digging up facts anyway. So keep going there. What do you got, Can?
Well, they paid $1.5 billion. They're going to put in a $35,000 seat stadium with a partially retractable roof, which I think is interesting. They need to put a retractable roof because I can't imagine Vegas sun, you sitting there out in the sun, just like Miami had to put a retractable roof on. That was one of the smartest things that Milwaukee did which was Miller Park, was put a retractable roof on it because let's face it, especially when you're going to Vegas, you're guaranteed a game then if you have a retractable roof. Look at how many games lately, the openings week, these last couple weeks that have been canceled due to rain, storms, postponements. Oh, we've got to shift this. We got to redo the schedule. We got to redo this schedule. We got to see where it's going to fit in. The smartest thing they did is they're putting a retractable. A sports empire, and it's going to be within a mile of Allegiant Stadium and the other stadiums. So they're going to make a whole entertainment district. It's the way that everybody's going these days. You build these stadiums, you build them close together, you put an entertainment district, you put food down there, you put restaurants, you put entertainment, like Green Bay up in Titletown, they put a snow skiing, like big sledding ski down, didn't they, Eric?
They did. They also put the atrium inside the stadium that's going to be used year round.
Exactly. I mean, they're all doing it. So, who do I feel bad for? I feel bad for the actual fans of Oakland that were actually still going to the game. Not that there were many of them, but the people but the people that watch them on TV. Let's face it, it was local market. Now you're going to move them to Vegas. It's no longer local market. So anybody who couldn't afford to go to a game and was sitting at home trying to watch them, they're going to have to subscribe to MLB TV to watch all these games. It's those fans that I really feel bad for.
All right, well, let me add a couple little things here. First of all, don't forget Chase Field in Arizona has a retractable roof too. I was there for a few games with Ernie Harwell and the Tigers on Father's Day. Certainly one of the most memorable Father's Days I have was my uncle Ernie Harwell. Boy, life is tough when you have an uncle like him. Secondly, okay, the Miami situation, you have an entertainment district around it, but the problem is nobody speaks your language. I've never learned anything about that particular language in that neck of the woods, and that's all I'm going to say. And so they're not really considered a real entertainment district in Miami, putting it mildly. So the reality is, you like Florida, you have no state income tax, so that's a good way to go ahead and certainly attract better players. And another thing, I personally think the A's are going to be there probably as early as next year. I wouldn't be surprised to see them get out, write them a check, get out of there, and play at the smaller ballpark. The last thing you need is, if you think 3,000 was bad, the only team I've ever seen draw worse than that, George, is the Michigan Stags of the WHA.
Oh, yeah.
And they can put anybody in Cobo Arena. I mean, so who knows? Maybe MLB will write the A's a check, say, here, just pay this off to Oakland and then move into the AAA stadium that they're playing with the Aviators. Is that what you said? Aviators. Okay, well, close enough. With an AV. Okay, so you can correct me all day long there, Rick, on Aviators. So, but anyways, but still, I mean, but the reality of the situation is, I think the A's, Rick, and I'm really singling you on this one, man, is I think they're going to be out of there as early as next year. That's just my gut feeling. What about you, Rick?
I agree. Either a year or 2 years. The president of the A's already said that there's a possibility they will play at the Las Vegas ballpark in Summerlin. And so I wouldn't blame them. Summerlin's a beautiful area compared to Oakland. So,
Well,
I wouldn't blame them.
Yeah, the lease, Rick, as I understand it, ends in 2024. So
Yeah.
you got this year, which is they're playing there. And then next year, you tied over the winter. Want to write a check to get out of there? We only work so hard to get out of there. So what they're doing in Vegas is nothing short of brilliant. It really, really is. I mean, they finally made the move over there, and there's no doubt in my mind they can work out the schedule where the AAA team and the Major League team could certainly alternate dates in an effort to do it. I guess as time will tell down the line whether or not they'll still be a AAA team and a Major League team at the same time. I don't know. For some reason, I think it could work in Vegas too. It certainly means they don't have to go very far, go one ballpark to another, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here. So the reality is Oakland did indeed self-destruct. They had a long time to do it. And, you always feel bad when a team moves, but George mentioned it as well. And that being this, okay, 4 cities. They're the only team that's had 4 cities in Major League Baseball where they can finally call home. But this time, the buck ends here, Candy, okay, where, at this point, the A's will have a spot. Now, well, I got to tell you something with this one, my friend. They can stay with their hats, but change the color, keep the A's hat. No, well, I'm sorry, my friend. They got to keep the green and the yellow. I don't agree with you on that, my friend. You got to keep their color scheme, even though they're in Vegas. I appreciate what you're saying. we don't agree on this one. So it's not uncommon that we do, but I think they'll be out of there within a year. I do. I think it's time for Oakland to move on. And and nobody wants to be in a lame duck situation. So glad we had an opportunity to spend about 15 minutes or so talking about the thing. So, Katie, what I want you to do right now is why don't you let everybody know, give the information on how they can find us.
So you can find us on South Florida Tribune's YouTube by going to YouTube. You see that little red button next to Rick. Hit subscribe, like, share it, spread it around like wildfire. We're looking for 1,000 subscribers. Comment, like, share our broadcast. You never know, you could be the next guest on one of these broadcasts. If you like to listen to the audio version, you can find us on iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, you can email us or call Scott. Our email is southfloridatribune@gmail.com, or Scott's phone number is 954-304-4941. We're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube.
All right. Well, I have a feeling for some reason or another, we had Joshua Burstein on yesterday. Now we got Rebecca. So we might be owing the Bursteins an opportunity to come on one of our shows. And again, as I just mentioned tonight, new policy. If you participate in a chat room and you're here, show in and show out, going to take your information and you can send it to us, and I will bring you on with all of our experts. I think it's a great way that we have interaction throughout social media. We're growing, and everybody has an opinion, and we'll do everything we can to make sure you get their opportunity to interact with us. So I think it's great. We appreciate the participation, and I enjoy putting together the best crews that I possibly can. So continue to be active, okay, in the chat room. And yeah, Will, you'll get your opportunity as well. Blake Lozinski, welcome back, my friend. We enjoyed you last night, and we're glad you can make it again. Look at this here, Eric. Look at this, Rick. We got some love out here. All right, get Josh on the show. You know what, Blake, Josh and I were messaging each other, and we are due to talk. So I wouldn't be surprised if that comes to a fruition at some point, probably sooner than later. So, but, I'll go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and talk about our next and final subject of the night, but it's a doozy, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to rank the order of 5 areas pertaining to expansion, 2 of which will be the next 2 MLB franchises. So we're going to break them down one at a time. And you know what? The entire show, Mr. Curdy, we're leading off with you, so be ready to go. And I'm going to go with each and every one, and then everybody gets their crack to go. Uno, dos, tres. I don't know what the 4 and 5 is in Spanish, but I got that far anyways. So, if there's any Spanish people that want to correct me out there, and we need a Spanish person on the show, feel free.
4, 5.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay. Send me a text with that, and maybe I'll get it right after the 50 millionth time, even though the only thing I'll never get right is learning how to tie a tie, and that's why I use Snap-ons anyways, when and if I ever put one on. So, but anyways, talk about Nashville. You've got Dave Stewart and Don Mattingly heading up the effort. You have a potential ownership over there in place, and they will be looking at calling them the Nashville Stars. Okay, Rick, where do they rank? Or forget about where they rank. You can, but what do you think Nashville is a?
City? Number 1. I mean, they want a team there. They're a growing city like Charlotte. They got Dave Stewart, Don Mattingly involved. They got a name. It's a lot like Las Vegas. They got a minor league team there that does very well. Nashville's definitely number 1. They're definitely going to get a team.
Okay, next on the list, obviously one you're all too familiar with is Charlotte. It seems to be the most logical choice, but waiting to hear on a stadium plan, ownership, etc. That's something, Rick, I haven't heard yet to convince me that they're a clear-cut number 2. Obviously, you've done a really good job over the years, certainly trying to bring awareness with the numerous appearances that you've been on, but it takes more than you. You don't have enough money in your pockets to build a stadium, man.
No.
You can say what you want about the name and the trademark, but you don't have the money to build a stadium and pay these salaries. But tell me where you think Charlotte stands in this process, Rick.
I think it's number 2. I mean, the thing with Charlotte is that the mayor's come out and said she wants to see an MLB team. We also have the second richest owner in the NFL, Mr. Tepper. And this guy already owns Charlotte FC. He owns the Panthers. He owns a minor league affiliate called Queen City. They're like a AAA affiliate of the Charlotte FC team. I mean, there's no baseball in Virginia and no baseball, and we're in South Carolina too. So it'll be two states in one, which makes us different from the other cities. So you can well, they'll say Charlotte's a small market, but you got South Carolina right there, so the people from South Carolina can come to Charlotte. So we already have the NFL and the NBA and the soccer team. So it's a lot like Las Vegas. It's become a sports dynasty here in North Carolina.
Yeah, the only thing I would probably suggest, you may not like the idea, but they should do what the Panthers did, make it Carolina so and so. That way it encompasses, Rick, what you're talking about, what they did with the Panthers, Carolina Panthers, make it more like a regional team. I'm with you
Yeah.
all the way. And I hope you make good money off the Charlotte Bats. So we'll leave it at that. Okay. Anyway, let's go to the third market on Montreal. We know the Expos deserve a second chance, waiting to hear more on the stadium. Then again, that's probably the narrative, anyways, waiting to hear on a stadium and ownership. All right, Rick, let's talk about Montreal. If they decide not to go ahead and go ahead, utilize Charlotte, I know Montreal's been discussed, and the Montreal Expos. Give me your take on Montreal.
Well, Montreal is very interesting because they already had a franchise, and they eventually moved to Washington D.C. I know the owner a while ago of the Tampa Bay Rays talked to the mayor of Montreal about possibly moving there one time, and he denied it. But this happened a while ago. So, I mean, if Tampa was going to move, I would guess it would be Montreal or maybe Nashville. They need a new stadium. Olympic Stadium, like Eric said, is a concrete dump. It's very, very outdated. It was a dump when I watched the Expos play, and that was like in the early '90s.
Right.
And so they definitely need a new stadium. I haven't really heard any progress made on it, to be quite honest.
Well, number one, we know Olympia Stadium, Olympic. Oh, I love Olympia, though. It does have a good ring in Detroit. Olympic Stadium is a foregone conclusion. They're not taking a team back there unless they have a stadium play. So just leave it right there. All right. One of the newer ones that just entered the picture, Salt Lake City, just jumped in the running and have renderings of a new stadium plan, and also a natural rival for Denver. And I think the Rockies owner just came out and said that he'd love to see a team in Salt Lake City. So those are the numbers. What do you think, Rick, about Salt Lake?
Well, my mom's from New Mexico, and she would love to see an MLB team in Albuquerque. But like Salt Lake City, it's not going to happen. You put a team in Las Vegas, there's no way in the world you're going to have a team in Las Vegas and Salt Lake City. It is way, way too close, and there's so much money to be made in Las Vegas. So, unfortunately, Salt Lake City, they're late for the dance. They got in there. I know I saw Dale Murphy there, but Salt Lake City will not get a Major League Baseball team.
Okay, and last but not least, Portland. What I see there is, I personally think, and I'll get into my opinion, that the Seattle Mariners will block this all day long. So, Rick,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I agree. I think the Mariners will block it. It's too close to Seattle. It's near their fan base. They're not going to have that happen.
Right.
I know Vancouver was on this list too, and I don't think they're going to get it either. So, but Portland, no, I would have them like Salt Lake City's last. I would have them second to last for a possibility for getting a team. But I think Seattle will just block it, and unfortunately, Portland they're not going to get a team. I don't see it happening.
All right. So, did you say that Salt Lake City was fourth and Portland was fifth? I didn't hear that.
Oh no, I have Salt Lake City last, and
Okay.
then Portland second to last.
Okay, very good. I love your analysis there, Rick. With that said, we're going to send it upstairs to Eric Katz. You know the order. I don't have to reiterate. Nashville. Go ahead, Eric. Nashville.
Well, Nashville. I mean, they've tried before to get a Major League Baseball team. They tried as early as the early '90s to try and make that happen before the Diamondbacks and the Marlins became a thing. And then they tried again the second round of expansion a little later on, but then they were rumored to be in it, but they picked up an app and decided not to go forward with it. But the Sounds have been a great draw for them for years, and they have the Vanderbilt. They produce players like no tomorrow over there, and they certainly are a College World Series contender every single year. But they, I personally want to see it happen. They've proven to be supporting the non-traditional sports like soccer, like the Preds, and things like that. Nashville, like Las Vegas, is a great city. It's a little more, it's a mini Las Vegas, but it's still a great city. It's growing. A lot of people are moving there. I know one year I almost moved there a while back. And so, it would be a great spot. Nashville has proven to be a great sports city, especially with the Titans as well.
Okay, no problem. So you feel that Nashville is one of the leading places,
Mhm.
Eric?
They have, they have people. I know Dave Dombrowski was involved with that team. Was involved with that effort at
Right.
one point before the Phillies brought him back, and then obviously Don Mattingly is now there, which and then there's
Right.
also Dave Stewart, who's
Right.
who really should be in the Hall of Fame, and he's one of the main people there leading the effort for that team to happen. And all they need now is just they got to figure out a stadium, but Nashville would be perfect. I mean, the Sounds, again, they're a consistent draw. Vanderbilt produces Major League Baseball players
Well,
every
I know
year.
about that. I'm just asking you a simple question.
Yeah,
That do you feel that Nashville is a very, very, very top candidate? Yes or no?
number one.
Good enough for me. Okay. Well, Charlotte, just give me a basic yes or no, and an explanation will work.
Yeah,
Beautifully.
absolutely. I mean, they've done well with the Panthers. I mean, the Hornets are there, and they're a growing city as well. I've got plenty of friends that have moved there, and the city itself is changing, and it's become just a great place to live. And I don't see why they couldn't support a baseball team. The Knights are a consistent draw.
Okay, good. Let's go on to Montreal. All right, so you've got Montreal.
I mean, I need to see a serious ownership group, which I have yet to see, and I need to see a new stadium. I mean, there's no way anybody in their right mind, not even temporarily, will play in Olympic Stadium. It's proven to be unsustainable. It's to the point where Jeff, say what you will about Jeffrey Loria, but he left primarily because of that reason, and I need a serious ownership group and a stadium. Want to see it happen, but until someone gets serious and until the government of that area approves of that Providence approves a stadium to be built, I just can't see it happening right now.
Okay, we'll go to Salt Lake City.
Could they extend their time where they can sell alcohol and party? I mean, that's what a lot of people do at baseball games. Seattle's there, so Seattle's going to be pounding on the table saying no, and so unless you think you can draw a bunch of sober people to a ballpark, I'd say good luck, Salt Lake City, but I don't see it happening, not even with the recent developments.
Okay, Portland.
No, that place has too many issues to count. Vegas is right there. I mean, let's be honest. Vegas is going to be is the glitz and the glamour. I mean, I can't see it happening. Besides, they're a city with so many problems that I'd probably rank them up there with Chicago with the amount of problems they have.
All right, so we'll summarize what you just had to say. Would you say that Nashville and Charlotte are your top two candidates?
Absolutely.
Good enough for me. George?
I would say Nashville is number one. Rick, Eric stole my thunder. I was going to bring up about Dave Dombrowski, of course, before he was lured over to Philadelphia. But they got a lot of stuff in order right now. But, they're going to build a brand new football stadium, and that's costing over $1 billion. So my question would be infrastructure and supporting another team and another new stadium. I don't know about that because I don't know the political situation very much in Nashville. That's the only thing that is hovering over it right now is the Titans beat them to the table, I should say, to get a new stadium. But they are still my number one. Yeah.
Charlotte,
thanks to my good friend here to the right. Absolutely. And Rick brings up a great point. It's a Carolina team. There's no team in Virginia. I mean, it's a great area of the country. My daughter and my son-in-law used to live not far from the Outer Banks. They loved it there when they were there before they relocated to Atlanta. Charlotte definitely number two for me.
Montreal.
No way. Montreal, no. Like Eric was saying, they don't have any plans for a new stadium. I don't know any situation that would sustain that. You got one team in Toronto, and I think that's going to be it for Old Canada.
Good enough. Salt Lake City.
No way. I appreciate the mayor's enthusiasm, but I'm sorry, it's just not a big enough city for me to put a franchise in. Plus, along with the other things that the guys mentioned already about conflicts with Las Vegas and geographically.
And last but not least, Portland.
No, again, too many political problems going on there. It's not a big enough city for me. In fact, I would even rate Mexico City ahead of Portland as a potential. And we haven't talked about Mexico City at all. And they got a lot of crime and problems, obviously, down in Mexico. But I know that Manfred really would like to get another international team, and that would be the most logical place for it. So I'm gonna surprise you there, Scott. I'm gonna put Mexico City as my 5th and Portland my 6th. I know we're only supposed to do 5.
Oh, no. I'm glad you brought up Mexico City. I know Rob Manfred has talked about it. No, you're way on target there. All right, last but not least, Candy, then I'll give a summary, and then Rick Curdy is going to have a parting shot and then some. So, Candy, go ahead. You know the order, right? Nashville?
Nashville can support it. Nashville's going to be the next one, I believe. They're a growing area. They have supported the Nashville Sounds, which is one of the Brewers affiliates. But I really think that they can support a MLB. I think they're going to be the next ones to get it.
Okay, good. Okay, Charlotte.
I also think that they have loyal fan bases, the Hornets and the Panthers. And I think, they have a place that they can play. I think they're number 2 on the list.
Okay. Montreal.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Been there, done that. It didn't work. Why beat a dead horse over the, there are so many other places that they could go. I don't see them in Montreal. I don't see them in Portland. Salt Lake City, maybe. It's a beautiful place. I can imagine they would get a lot of tourists because they'd want to go see the stadium, but would they have a lot of fans there day in, day out? I'm not sure. I'm going to throw you a city that nobody's mentioned. What about New Orleans?
No way.
No
way. Okay. All right. So you don't think Portland? All right. Let me give you my short overview. I know Mother Nature is starting to make a little bit of noise out there. That's not going to stop me from doing it, I hope. But anyways, Nashville, I think, is a lock. The one thing that people, and I like what Candy and I had a chance to see a Nashville Sounds game, and they do real well. So I know there's no way that nobody else convinced me that they won't get a team. The one thing none of you guys are mentioning about Charlotte, though, that I am going to mention, why I believe they should be number 2 on the list, is I know the Atlanta Braves would love it. 4 hours to Charlotte, and Nashville would like it too because they're 4 hours away there. So I think geographically, Charlotte makes sense for 2 particular markets. Montreal, there's another thing nobody's thinking about. We also saw during the pandemic how difficult it was to cross borders, right? Okay. Well, that doesn't help Montreal's case either. I don't really hold anything against them in terms of why it went south, because the 1994 baseball strike, Ernie Harwell told me, killed that market, and it was a good market. But the only way they're going to get one is they're not going in Olympic Stadium, AK concrete dumb. I haven't heard that one in a while. But no, Montreal, forget it. Salt Lake City, now too late to the party. I don't believe that one, although I think it could be a good rivalry for Colorado, but I don't see it. Portland, no way. Don't forget that it rains a lot. And for that market there, they would need a dome stadium to offset all the rain. That's why they had to have a retractable situation in Seattle. So Portland, forget it. Mexico City there. So with that said, that's my brief overview. So what we're going to do here tonight is Rick Curdy will be taking a break from broadcasting, but he's going to be helping me out on social media, and he'll be providing feedback for other shows. So, in fairness to Rick, he's certainly my right-hand man. Nothing's going to change. He's just going to take a little bit breather. Everybody does need one every now and then. The only way I'll take a breather is the man upstairs says I have no choice but to do it. But nevertheless, so here's what we're going to do, Rick. Okay, you're not going to be on Wednesday night show tomorrow. But you know what? Before I do that, I want to put Will Vogel's top 5 in too. And let's see what you guys think about that. He goes Nashville and Charlotte right with us. Montreal 3, Portland, Salt Lake. Okay, I mean that's pretty consistent with what we're doing.
Yep, I agree.
All right.
All right, so here's what we're going to do, Mr. Curdy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to evaluate Charlotte as a sports town on 1 through 10. Since you won't be on tomorrow night, that will be our sports town of the week for the sports.
Okay. Charlotte is the fourth fastest growing city. It's one of the largest banking community. Bank of America is headquartered here. We have a sister state next door in South Carolina. So when people say we're a small market, South Carolina could come with us. So we're two states in one. That's what makes us different from the other cities on the list. We already have the NFL Panthers. We already have basketball. We have a hockey team in the capital in Raleigh. Soccer is huge out here, one of the largest attendant in the MLS. We have the Charlotte Knights. Their attendance is doing really well. Beautiful, beautiful stadium in Uptown. It's growing like crazy here. A lot of transplants. You know, people. We got Yankees and Pirates, and so when those teams come here, they'll get supported like crazy. The rivalry, like you said, Scott, with Atlanta, it would be great to see a team in Atlanta, Nashville, and Charlotte start a whole new Southern division there. And you could probably relocate, like maybe the Rays or maybe the Marlins or the Rangers, and right there you got a whole new market right there. That would be like a Southern Division rivalry right there that I think Major League Baseball really needs. But Charlotte is I've been here 18 years, and it's growing like crazy all the time. We have the NASCAR Hall of Fame here as well. So, you know, we were so stereotyped so many years with college basketball. And it's not anymore. It has grown like crazy for professional sports. And to me, Charlotte definitely will get a Major League Baseball team.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you rank it?
Oh, I have it like a 9. I mean,
Fair enough.
I mean, it's and we have David Tepper here. This guy wants to buy everything up here. And I'm telling you, once it gets really, really close, once Tampa and you hear about expansion, do not be surprised to hear David Tepper want to bring an MLB team to Charlotte.
No shortage of money in that area, that's for sure. So, all right, one other thing I want you to talk about. This is your actual parting shot. Go ahead and give me your thoughts about Mark Davis.
Mark Davis is a buffoon. He's a hypocrite. He's the hypocrite of the year. This guy, I mean, I read this article where he was furious that the Oakland Athletics were moving to Las Vegas. What I'm confused about is, did he do the same thing? Wasn't his team in Oakland, and didn't his team move to Las Vegas? So I'm kind of confused why Mark Davis is so angry about a team doing something that he did already. You know, he came out and said that the reason the Raiders moved because of the A's and forced them out of Oakland. I can tell you for a fact that is a bald-faced lie. And if Mark Davis got a problem with me, come on that show and we'll talk about it. But I know that when the Raiders moved back to Oakland, his dad wanted a new stadium in Los Angeles. They were going to fix up the Coliseum. Didn't happen. He moved to Oakland because they promised him a new stadium, and they didn't do it. They kept adding on and adding on and adding on to the A's stadium. So when Mark Davis got control of that team, he wanted a new stadium for years. They weren't going to do it. So he spoke to the mayor of Las Vegas and the mayor of San Antonio. And once he said, we're going to move there, we'll move. He came back to Oakland. They tripled his rent. He was having issues with them already. And he said, I'm done. And he wanted to get out of Oakland to Las Vegas because money to be made there. So I don't understand why Mark Davis is so angry that a team did exactly what he did. So I guess because I guess he's jealous, or they stole his thunder, or maybe he doesn't like that the stadium's going to be next to the football stadium. I have no idea. But Mark Davis, to me, is the hypocrite of the year.
All right. Well, the only thing I'll say to close out it, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, period. So Mark felt that he needed to make a change. Oakland didn't get it done there. And we have another replay. A's gave it a lot of time. Nothing happened. As a result, they're neighbors in Las Vegas. What else is there to really say about it? But I'm glad you had a chance to mention that. Mark Davis, I read the same article, and I agree. I think he was absurd, but then again, who am I to criticize him?
That haircut is absurd. So why is anything else absurd about him?
Well, just remember one thing about the Raiders. Al Davis won the championships, not Mark.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go any deeper than that. Coming up afterwards, we have Fire Up Michigan. We'll be talking about the Detroit Lions. So with that said, Eric, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
You can follow me on my Twitter at Sports Team News, or at my blog, bellyupsports.com, where I write about all things baseball.
Very good. Okay. Rick, go ahead.
You can find me on my website, www.charlottebats.com. We have a petition on there, And we want to bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina. So please sign it. We're on Facebook at Charlotte MLB, Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. I'm on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curdy. And my email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com.
Okay, George, you're up.
Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. I'm the author of the book, and it's available with a link at the Motor City Tribune, which is under the South Florida Tribune website. Scott's in the book, and a lot of other greats, including our friend Uncle Ernie, who wrote the foreword for the book. You can read me at the Motor City Tribune or the Detroit Monitor. Reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com or on LinkedIn under my name. And don't forget, also, I'm available on Twitter at SanGSports99. Good to be part of the show.
All right, Candy, take us both home the rest of the way. The floor is yours.
So see that little red subscribe button next to Rick? Click it, like it, subscribe to us. If you like this show, you'll like a lot of our others. We have Inside the Pigskin. We have No Limits. We have Real and Rare. We have Fire Up Michigan, Fire Up Wisconsin. We have Sports Exchange. How can I forget that one? We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. If you'd like to comment, like, share us. You never know, you might find yourself on one of these broadcasts. Want to be a guest? Send some topic ideas to South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. Check out our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. We have lots of content there, whether it be from NFL to MLB to college to you name it, just about we've got it. And if you like to listen to podcasts, listen to us on iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. If you want to advertise, if you want to sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941 or email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Scott's Twitter at Tribune South. Okay, Scott.
All right. Well, great.
One last thing. If you ever want to see all chicks on a podcast, come on over to Chicks and Salsa Tuesday nights at 7:30 or Three Chicks in a Pod. We're talking all sports. We're actually talking about creating another show. Stay tuned.
All right. And also, Sideline Sports are really good partners of ours. I enjoy what I do with Pundit Spun as well as basketball.
I have a little gift for Rick. It's called an All-Star bat. Rick, I'm sorry it's not any bigger. But
Oh, thank you. I love it.
Well, you guys can.
You're welcome back anytime, my friend.
Yeah,
Thank you.
well, like I say, I know Rick says he's taking a little bit of a break. Everybody needs one. So I view this as nothing more than just a little mini break. And because after all, I worked hard to give him that name, Mr. Opinion. He better live up to it. And he has. So, we'll just say that Rick is having a little bit of laryngitis right now, and he's losing his voice on the podcast. And if you believe that, God, please help. But, hey, no, he's just taking a break. But don't worry, I'll be in his ear, texting him a little bit there, and he'll be more than happy to answer him. So he's helping me out on social media, and he'll also be able to watch the show. But Rick, to me, you're a friend, and you've come a long way as a broadcaster. So don't feel like Mr. Opinion, you've wasted my time creating your identity instead of pitching baseball in the Piedmont area, because we got more stuff down the line. So, but meanwhile, this concludes this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. On behalf of Candy Ebling, Eric Katz, Rick Curdy, George Eichhorn, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Coming up next, George and I flip over to Fire Up Michigan. Everybody have a good night. We'll see you next Tuesday night. Thank you again for joining us. Be safe, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Nice.